person that I've been wanting to talk to for such a long time. I mean, in the class that we teach songwriting, the mechanics of songwriting. We've written with people that have come into the studio, members of GRL, the girl group, and,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and and different people, and and of course, people that you've introduced me to over the years, like Maher. I've written with Maher, and we've
Yeah.
worked together, and you know, and of course your sister. I've written a million,
Of course,
bajillion songs with her, and it's been, so every day we write songs every single day. As part of my, when I do my classes, we do several different things, the mechanics of songwriting, and I do a class called Picture This, where I show them just a photograph of something, an image, and they have to write a chorus based on
how
that.
wonderful. That's
Just
wonderful.
a picture.
Yeah.
And then we do another thing called ghostwriting, where we take a popular song on Billboard now and change all the lyrics in their chorus to our own lyrics.
Oh, how wonderful.
Like a parody, but not a parody. Like, it's got to be, it's serious.
Imagining.
Yeah. And it's so hard to unlearn a song that you already know well.
Yes.
To unthink it is tough,
Yeah.
And, it's funny because you came from a musical theater background, and I come from a rock and roll background, where, like, as songwriters, playing pop music, rock was pop, but when I started, it was all in the garage.
Yeah.
We were just banging it out in a garage. And, one person had a riff, and the drummer came in and he played, and then the bass player said, I'm going to, lock into this groove. And you wrote songs in the garage. And now everybody writes songs on a computer.
Yeah.
Or in a room with, a group of people.
Yeah.
And was it a different change for you going from, like, writing theater, like, or your musical, I guess, lyrics and ideas, going from that to the pop music? And I want to find out how you got into the pop from your New York and theater background.
Yeah, New York, I never wrote a show. I've always loved musical theater. The funny thing is I'm working on a musical now, but it was more sort of like, it never was for a show, but it was like cabaret, and people in the theater world. And it was more, I call, like, art songs, really, like, and yeah, I did write for some people like Liza Minnelli, or I think Rosemary Clooney years ago, or Michael Feinstein. So I was just sort of in that world of more, I guess the theater world. I wrote some songs with Stephen Schwartz, with Adam Gettle. Yeah. And I always was a pop girl at heart, because I grew up with, Laura Nyro, Carole King, Joni Mitchell, the Beatles, Billy Joel. And that was always what I listened to. And I've always loved Americana and bluegrass and rock as well. I love The Who, and I there's a lot, Led Zeppelin, and so Bowie, all that kind of stuff. So probably the singer-songwriters the most. It was always what I always listened to, from even Sheryl Crow, Alison Krauss. So that was always what I loved. I think in the beginning of my career, I wrote more lyrics, because that was just the way that it was done. I would write a lyric. I never do that now, but I would write a lyric on a page. And because I was in a vocal group in New York, those were just the people that I knew. So I'd write a lyric, and I would give it to a Stephen Schwartz or John Bacchino, who I wrote a lot of songs with, and they would write the music. And that's just the way that we did it. But I always, whenever I would write a lyric, I would hear a melody, but I just didn't know anything about, like, I didn't know, oh, well, I should write the melody. It just wasn't done that way. And I was a performer, trying to be a performer. I was in this vocal group. I was trying to audition for Broadway, and that had always been my dream since I was a little girl. I never thought about being a songwriter ever. But while I was in this group, that I moved to New York to be in this vocal group, I started also co-writing songs for the group that were little bit more pop, from folk to pop to jazz. And I started to realize this is what I love the most. I love this way more than the performing and, nerves of being on stage and your voice, remembering lyrics, which, so I just decided to move back to Los Angeles. It was 1997. So it's been, let's see, 25 years in June,
Wow.
25 years. So I was just
Wow.
a little toddler in my diaper.
Yeah.
We'll just say that. But I was, still fairly young, and I just wanted to write pop music because there was no the music that I was doing back then. There was no payment. I mean, people would sing your songs in a cabaret, and there was some recognition, and I'd make a little money here and there. But I said, this is what I want to do. So I moved back to LA without a penny in my pocket, and I knew a few people. So a couple of things happened. One is a few songwriters. There was a girl named Marsha Malamet at the time who had some big songs with, people like Barbara Streisand, but like on the pop side. And she gave me a shot. And getting in with her, I was able to tell other people, oh, I'm working with Marsha Malamet. So they'd be like, okay, I'll give you a shot. And with her, it was really interesting because I wrote a lyric, but I heard the melody, and I went to her house and I said, well, this melody. And then she goes, I love this melody. This is a great melody. We're going to use this melody. And I was like, whoa. So these things I've been hearing. And then I entered a contest. There used to be these music magazines. I don't know if a lot of them are around anymore. I don't even remember what it was called. It's not around anymore. And they had this big international song contest. And I remember it was a cassette. That's how long ago it was. And it was like the deadline. The deadline was that night. And I ran to the mailbox and I put this one, it was a country song. I put it in the mail and I ended up winning the whole contest. And the prize was going to this huge songwriting camp in Ireland with a concert in Dublin. And there was like a lot of famous people like Brenda Russell and some famous country writers, really big country writers. And I just was sort of thrown into the fire, and I didn't even know I could do this. I would be going into one room and just come up with all these ideas. And I mean, at that time I would, was sleeping 4 hours and writing 4 songs a day there was a group called Tony that was actually an
I remember them.
One of the guys from Tony, he had me come to Oakland to write with them. And I was writing a lot of R&B, and I thought, I didn't even know I could do this. Melodies, lyrics, co-writing. And that whole experience led me to meeting a publisher who was there, who then wanted to sign me. And then it was very slow, but I started to get in the room. She would put me in the room with more people. And then I started to get a few cuts. And I think it took till 2008, maybe, before my big first single, or 2007. I'm bad with it. It was around that. I had a few things. I started to get in some records. And then I started to have my first big single was a song called Incomplete that Backstreet Boys did, which was a pop rock song, really. It was like, I think it was around 2008, I think. So that was kind of when things really changed. And then my career really started to accelerate and had, a string of hits. Now it's slowing down a little, but I still feel in some ways more inspired than I ever did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I just love it. And I think, some of the key to longevity is just I never get set in my ways. I'm always working with young people and thinking, okay, this might be an EDM song, or this might be, even sometimes it'll be a jazz song, or it'll be rock band, or, singer-songwriter, whatever it is, or for a Disney movie or something. I'm always open to, I'm never like, it has to be verse, this, it has to be a perfect rhyme or anything. I want to see what they bring to the table, because that keeps me fresh and just keep evolving and have an open mind. So
that's really important.